Gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
Call it what it was, a gut-check challenge of the highest order. The Indiana Fever entered Game 3 of the WNBA playoffs against the Atlanta Dream with their backs against the wall, 6 players down, reeling from controversial officiating in Game 2, and facing a win-or-go-home scenario with absolutely no margin for error. But instead of folding, they rose to the moment with grit, heart, and the kind of fire that defines championship DNA. Kelsey Mitchell took control down the stretch with fearless drives and clutch buckets, Aaliyah Boston anchored the paint with relentless energy and physicality, and Lexie Hull came through with the defining play of her young career, an exclamation point on a night the Fever refused to let slip away. The result? A hard-fought victory and a ticket to the WNBA Semifinals for the first time since 2015. Now the question is louder than ever. Was this just a flash of brilliance under pressure, or the true turning point return of Indiana Fever basketball to the league's elite? However you see it, one thing's certain, this team isn't backing down from anyone. Let us know in the comments how proud you are of this squad, and let's keep this momentum rolling. Let's go, Fever!
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win.
Imagine enduring nearly a decade without a single playoff series win, a drought that goes far beyond the numbers. It becomes a shadow hanging over the franchise, a lingering ache for the fans, and a constant weight on every player who puts on that jersey. The last time the Indiana Fever advanced this far, Tamika Catchings was still the soul of the team, Natasha Howard was a promising rookie, and Stephanie White was guiding the squad during her first run as head coach. That was back in 2015, a completely different era for the WNBA. Since then, the league has evolved, stars have come and gone, and the Fever had to fight through years of rebuilding, disappointment, and near misses. So when they took the court for Game 3 against the Atlanta Dream, it wasn't just another playoff matchup, it was history staring them down, daring them to prove they belonged again. And they answered with heart, toughness, and a performance that may very well mark the rebirth of a proud franchise.
Talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win-or-go-home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
The urgency of the moment was magnified by the brutal reality of their roster. Just look at the names missing. Caitlin Clark, the heartbeat of the offense, sidelined. Sophie Cunningham, a relentless competitor, out. Sydney Colson, the vocal veteran and emotional leader, unavailable. Add to that Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, and Damaris Dantas, all shelved with injuries. That's not just a few gaps to fill, that's the core of their experience, production, and leadership stripped away in one crushing sweep. What remained was a team held together by sheer will, forced to dig deeper than ever before. This wasn't just a playoff game anymore, it was a defining moment, a do-or-die scenario with a roster that had no margin for error. From the outside, expectations had vanished. No one believed they could win. Pundits dismissed them. Fans braced for the worst. But within that locker room, something shifted. With the pressure off and backs against the wall, they found clarity. And with it, freedom. Free from the weight of expectation, they played for each other, not for headlines. They fought not because they were favored, but because it was the only option left. And sometimes, that's when the most unexpected, unforgettable stories are written.
Now this one on Lexie Hall got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexie Hall's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back, Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time, she has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
And who could forget how Game 1 unfolded? It was a masterclass in frustration, a relentless parade of questionable whistles, momentum-shattering fouls, and a controversial technical slapped on their head coach at a pivotal moment. Every call seemed to tilt the floor beneath them, and the sense of injustice wasn't subtle. It radiated through the arena, seethed from the sidelines, and even through television screens. Fans at home could feel it. But that sting didn't fade. It simmered. Those players didn't just move on. They held on to the bitterness, pocketed the disrespect, and transformed it into fuel. Game 2 wasn't just about advancing, it was about redemption. It was about proving that their fight wasn't finished, that the story wouldn't be written by a whistle or decided by circumstances beyond their control. They came back with a fire that couldn't be officiated, ready to reclaim what had been taken and restore the pride they felt had been stripped away.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
See, driving to the foul line and the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
The tone was set long before the opening tip. In the pregame interviews, you could feel the weight of what was coming. Kelsey Mitchell appeared composed, laser-focused, like someone who already understood the burden she was about to carry, and embraced it. Aaliyah Boston, soft-spoken but steady, radiated a quiet confidence, ready to anchor the paint in a battle that would demand everything she had. Across from them stood a fully healthy Atlanta squad, energized by home-court advantage and the roar of a Gateway Center arena crowd eager to shut the Fever down for good. On paper, the odds leaned hard in Atlanta's favor. But Indiana wasn't just facing the dream, they were confronting years of disappointment, the sting of 6 injured teammates, and a lingering narrative that said they weren't ready, weren't built to rise when it mattered. And in that pressure cooker, they made a choice. They leaned into the storm. They picked grit over doubt, fight over fear. Which leaves us with the bigger question, could a handful of defining moments, from players who refused to fold, finally flip the script, and turn all those years of waiting into the beginning of something new?
The Jones throws it up.
No good! Game over! And the Fever are moving on!
The Fever found themselves staring down the kind of moment that doesn't just decide games, it defines entire seasons. Late in Game 3, with the scoreboard tilted against them and the deafening roar of nearly 4,000 Atlanta fans crashing around them, every single possession carried the weight of everything they'd endured. A year marked by grit, injury, and constant questions had boiled down to these final, breathless minutes. The crowd wasn't just loud, it was relentless, trying to bury Indiana beneath a wave of doubt and momentum. But the Fever didn't break. They didn't blink. Instead, they leaned on the very players who had carried them through the chaos all year. And one by one, those players answered. They stepped into the pressure, into the fire, and refused to back down. What unfolded wasn't just a basketball game, it was a statement. A refusal to let the moment, the noise, or the narrative write their ending.
Has picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
Mitchell, man,
she is so good.
Kelsey Mitchell was the unwavering heartbeat of Indiana's offense, the steady pulse that kept them alive when the game threatened to slip away. Atlanta came in with a clear plan, crowd her at every turn, load the paint, send help the moment she touched the ball. And still, Mitchell found a way, dropping 24 points in a game where space was a luxury. Even more impressive, 19 of those points came before halftime, a blistering first-half surge that kept the Fever afloat in hostile territory. But it wasn't just the scoring. When the Dream tightened the screws, cutting off her lanes and challenging every touch, Mitchell pivoted, dishing out assists, contesting shots, doing whatever was needed to keep the momentum from collapsing. She took hits, absorbed pressure, and never disappeared. Her relentless aggression became a signal to her teammates, "We're still in this." And they fed off it, drawing strength from her refusal to fold. In the chaos of playoff basketball, Kelsey Mitchell didn't just show up, she led.
Attacking from the outside and now the inside. And Mitchell's been quiet for a while, not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston, again the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the 3-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
Inside the paint, Aaliyah Boston was quietly carving out a narrative of her own, one built on toughness, intelligence, and sheer will. Matched up against the physically imposing Brianna Jones, Boston found herself in a relentless low-post battle, absorbing contact on nearly every possession. On paper, Jones held the size and strength advantage, but Boston didn't flinch. Instead, she countered with precision, impeccable timing, smart positioning, and a rapidly maturing sense of how to win those small interior battles before the ball even arrived. She sealed early, held her ground, and forced Jones into uncomfortable spots, all while maintaining the calm, poised demeanor that has become her signature. It wasn't flashy, but it was fundamental. It was effective. And most importantly, it was exactly what Indiana needed, an anchor in the storm, steady and unshakable in the game's most bruising territory.
This is just 4 of 16 from the floor in game 2. That's terrific. Paul into Boston. Beautiful.
Her stat line, 14 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, only tells part of the story. What those numbers don't capture is the grit behind every rebound fought for in traffic, the vision and timing behind